when you remove an old building or the history of a place, it's like a brave new place. It's like a man without a memory.
Kuala Lumpur's colourful melting pot can be identified from its buildings. Where else can one find a robust blend of old colonial influences mixed with Eastern traditions and contemporary inspirations jostling each other against one skyline? It may not be Lisbon, Rome, Paris, London, Tokyo or New York, but KL is in itself an architectural canvas. The city is an adventurous playground thanks to its tumultuous design identity. All it takes is a little sense of intrigue to discover the stories behind the hybrid structures we see. To understand the idea of a thriving city, we must first look at whether its built environment is sophisticated enough for living and working.
For instance, a suburb like Bangsar is very popular, right? Because all the schools are there, from preschools to secondary schools to even the tertiary education is around the corner, right? Places of worship, all walking distance. You get what I'm saying? Then a place where you can earn a living, you can do your business. So a very good city, a very vibrant city is where all these are available. A place to live, work and play. That's why the old part of KL, the so-called Chinatown, is all walking distance. Just like Covent Garden. Downstairs there's a cafe, upstairs there's a bookshop, and around the corner is a solicitor's office. KL is the same thing. I can have my tea house here. Down there is my char kway teow stall. Upstairs is a bookshop, tuition center, all within 1 square mile. That's why it's compact living and full of vitality and full of life. As KL prospered, at the turn of the century, there was some leftover money from the Victoria Jubilee Fund, Queen Victoria's Fund. So the populace decided to have a school to train locals to take up positions in the administration. So they brought in an Etonian school headmaster to come and teach in Victoria institution. So the whole thing was started like that. All the legislation to do with education, VI was the precursor, the one setting the tone. So when they first started, they were actually along the High Street, next to the High Street Police Station. They moved the whole thing to their present premises after the war. A lot of great personalities went there. Even the Sultan of Brunei was there. And then after that, there were other schools, the Christian Brothers. I was at St. John's. St. John's is 1904. St. Michael's in Ipoh, St. Francis Xavier in Penang. Yeah, I mean there were different schools. The point is that the convents as well. So these were missionary schools. MBS is another one.
One of the predominant areas with the busiest activities is Petaling Hill, home to iconic stadiums and renowned educational institutions overlooking many establishments. It is part of the contrasting greenery and concrete skyline setting that makes up Kuala Lumpur's lush panorama. Adding to its significance is, of course, Malaya's proclamation of independence, with the ceremony held at the custom-built Merdeka Stadium.
Tunku at that time wanted a sporting stadium. So it was also the site of the first football tournament in the whole of Asia. It's called the Merdeka Tournament. So that's an open arena with the sun and rain coming down. The sister one would be the Stadium Negara, an enclosed space. All the badminton, all the Thomas Cups, all the greats were performing there. Outside that, as the years go on, more and more layers of history are put there. For instance, do you know that Michael Jackson performed there? And then that famous boxing match between Joe Buckner and Muhammad Ali. And these are world greats, Muhammad Ali, the greatest boxer. And then singers like Mariah Carey, you have even Teresa Teng. She performed there. Everybody who graces the place adds another layer of legend and history and so on. But beyond that, as a piece of architecture, there were a lot of firsts. The grandstand, it's a 100-foot span, 60 feet in front and 40 feet at the back. Amazing feats of engineering, all those shells and all that stuff. And the pylons were the tallest pre-stressed structure in the world, all locally made. And there was a park adjacent to it, the Tunku Abdul Rahman Park, as an amenity for the people in the area. That has all been taken over now with this new P&B tower. Now, we are not against the development. We are just saying appropriateness. You see, when you insert a big structure like that in the middle of town, the roads may not be able to take the high volume of traffic. Perhaps it might be better located maybe in Putrajaya, a major thing, all the avenues leading there. Because you have other complications of the roads can't take it. One success story I can tell you in terms of modern development is the KLCC development. So when they removed the whole golf course and shipped it out, they started building the infrastructure first. There are underpasses so that you go underground into the underground car park. Then later they put the park on top, correct? KLCC, yeah? And then they ringed it with all these high-rise, fancy apartments, high-end offices and all that stuff, plus the shopping mall. But do you know below ground, there are a few thousand car park lots. But when you evacuate, no problem. Out it comes, across the river, out it comes. You know what I'm saying? The footprint must be properly done under the supporting aspect. We now have a problem with all the flooding because there were certain areas designated as detention ponds.
Architectural palimpsests explicitly raise questions about the historicity of buildings among those curious enough about the built environment around them. It explores architectural historiography and construction designs by visibly expressing the passage of time. Each layer of the architecture in question presents itself as constructed in its own time, dating from its own time. In Kuala Lumpur, one that stood out as the closest reference to this involves the Sinsi Zia temple and the premises surrounding.
This is a very Romanesque, the Roman style, classical style facade details. Huh? But it disguises this temple at the back behind it. That's the fun part. You wouldn't know there's a temple there, but this is the oldest existing temple in Kuala Lumpur from Yap Ah Loy's time.
The Sinsi Zia temple is KL's oldest Taoist temple, founded in 1864. If you happen to visit the temple, you will find Yap Ah Loy's shrine sitting among the gods. There is a story behind it, as Yap Ah Loy himself built the temple, which served as the Chinese religious and community centre of Kuala Lumpur since it opened. Located at the intersection of Lebo Pudu and Jalan Tun HS Lee, it's easy to miss this hidden wonder with taller neighbouring buildings taking over the view. The temple came first, while the streets at the junction came later. The temple sits at a 45 degrees angle to the right-angled street corner. From an aerial view, 3 triangular-shaped buildings can be seen wrapped around the back of the older temple to complete the urban corner. The elaborate street facades with neoclassical details of tripartite Venetian windows, cornices, plaster buntings, pediments, and the ground floor 5 footway cleverly concealed the temple when viewed from a 2-street facade. It is a clever use of European facadism in Kuala Lumpur, not seen anywhere else in Southeast Asia. The structural interior is very much reflective of the period it was birthed into, where even to date, the integrity of the original design is not impacted by insensitive renovations or refurbishments to fit the demands and aspirations of newer tastes.
You see, the Victorians at that time were very, very eclectic. They borrowed from different parts of history. Say the church nearby is a British Norman style of church design, country sort of church. Then the sporting club, black and white timber Tudor style of building. Okay. Then you had the Sultan Abdul Samad building. They had this beautiful. Originally, it was a classical style building, but they decided to give it a local flavor. So the architect redressed the thing with a facade, which had a bit of more Mughal Muslim.
KL is eclectic, I suppose.
KL is eclectic. I mean, KL, like I said, we started as a mining town. And as it got richer, people sell you goods. I sell you carpets, I sell you furniture, I sell you everything to make your living nice. So as people got more and more well-to-do, the buildings got taller and taller. The facades started having eyebrows and arches. Instead of a plain building, it got more embellished. And the facade of the shop house is the face on the street. It's, you know, all the faces of all the houses are facing the street and gives a character to the street. So the public room is the street. The ceiling is the sky. Wearing a bowler hat doesn't make Bane an Englishman. If I wear a Texan hat, am I American? No. It's just a costume, correct? So when you try and say, I want to have a Malaysian character to it, doesn't mean I wear a tengkolok that, you know, that it's a Malay building. Or if I put a Islamic shaped dome, whatever, then I say it's an Islamic building. It has nothing to do with, it's just a costume. It's a facade design. The principles of it must be embedded in the architectural design. Then you can claim for it to be Malaysian. So my way of looking at Malaysian architecture, good Malaysian architecture, is where it responds to the climate. Modern tropical architecture with Malaysian flavors. Okay, so let's say the National Mosque. National Mosque, no domes, one minaret. They did a marvelous job of designing this special Malaysian mosque. Original, no, not repeated anywhere else in the world. Although that form of the folded plate, it was repeated all over the small suraus all over the country. So I would say there's some very unique architecture in and around KL, which if you but know about it, you will want to celebrate it.
Architectural monuments that we have come to value today aren't meant to be admired only from afar. Building design at its visionary best engages, exhilarates, and inspires. But for a built environment to be prosperous, its lived environment would need to be catered to fittingly first.
You don't realize the treasure that you have until it's too late. Now we are talking about national monuments. These are big things, Sultan Abdul Samad building and all that. The thing is that the average, shall we say 90% of the built heritage is the average shop houses along the sides, the simple houses you see in Kampung Baru. Yeah, those are where the people live, where they work. The character of the place is given by that. And if you remove that, all that history is just wiped out. So the thing we want to pose is think again of what you're losing.